There we go, yeah.
Put them on the internet.
Yeah, we'll start handing around the mic so we can hear everybody. So, Linux administration, guys. I'm trying to pull out my notes here, which I don't seem to have. Well, that's all right. So I wanted, how do I put my thing up here? Let's see. Okay, so has someone already had Miguel using all this stuff and everything else? Okay.
He was having a heck of a time with the smartboard.
Yeah. So
Slapping at it this morning.
So did he always just use this to put the computer stuff, or did he use the overhead? Let's see how this works. Because I haven't tried any of this out. This is all new to me.
If you break it, we gotta go home, right?
No. Then you get to fix it. And you can't go home until you fix it. With that. So yeah.
We're gonna be here a while.
Well, over the holidays, I actually did work quite a bit. If you look at all the PDFs that are out there for this week, that's what I did all last week, man. So setting the first 2 weeks of this class, we're going to be setting up the lab. And it's going to be a lot of work, set up this lab, all right? A lot of instructions. I had a heck of a time getting Microsoft Windows to actually work in the lab. Linux worked fine. Got that going really quick. There was something, I don't know what it was. Windows, I don't know. It just wasn't working well in vSphere. That's a V in like sphere. Yeah. Is the name of the tool. And so anyway, it just wasn't working. I finally got a workaround, so it's really kind of funky. So those in my Windows admin class, you're going to have fun installing Windows Server. We had to do this whole workaround. You have to install it just in a command line mode. Then you have to install VMware tools through the command line, and then install and upgrade it to the full standard edition.
For Server 2012 R2?
Yes. 2012. Yeah. Now, in this class, in this room, it works a little bit better with the mouse and things like that. But I also had to think of those online and those who are connecting online to access it as well. So anyway, that's what all those instruction guides are that you see out there. There's like 4 or 5 on how to set up this lab and get it going. And just this week, we'll have everything. We'll have the operating system installed, but we won't have any of the networking configured. So that'll be next week. We get to configure the network and the firewall and everything else. And then we can actually start the class and learning things, okay? So, yeah, so there'll be a lot of prep time. So just plan for that the first 2 weeks here, we're doing a lot of setup and everything else. Just get this lab going, okay? But it's a really cool tool, which I'll show you later in the class today. If you haven't ever used vSphere or some vSphere. Yeah, like a round ball. Yeah. So anyway, we'll walk through that a little bit. But I wanted to share with you a little bit of what I was doing during my break as well. I was kind of hacking VI and Vim quite a bit. And so I'll show you that since you guys are familiar with that. So I'm going to log into vLinux here. So what I wanted to do was I decided, and this is some of the discussion I had here before class about how some of the textbooks aren't that great. Huh. And so at least for some of the Linux courses, and you guys don't get a benefit from this, I'm just going to recreate my own text. And hopefully just offer it digital, hopefully it might be free, and just make it really simple and nice, right?
Charge us some hot everything.
No. So, no, I think textbooks are way overpriced as they are. I don't get why digital copies are so expensive too. Like if you pay more than $3 for a digital copy, I think that's way overpriced to send an email attachment to you, right? And that's as easy it is to copy it for the publishing company, right? So, you know, they sell it for $3 and making $3, you know, for those digital copies. So, anyway, and usually it's the publishing company that keeps most of the money instead of the actual author. Author gets, you know, they sell the book for $50. The author gets $1 or $2 out of all that. So, anyway, that's some of the changes. So anyway, this gets me to VI and Vim, and when I was changing VI and Vim, because I go, hey, if I'm going to be writing a new Linux book or doing something like that, I want to do it in VI. I want to be total geeky, right? So, but I want it to be a little bit more like a word processor, right? So there are several hacks, and I apparently can't type my password here. Might have waited too long. Do I have cap locks on? Yeah, it's probably gonna lock me out. Oh, that's right. Yeah. See, I can't talk and type at the same time. Thank you. Oops, that's cap lock now. Well, then you guys have to sit here and watch me type a password in, for 2 hours. Well, we're also going to edit it, so. There you go. So what a few things that I wanted to add in to Vim. Sorry, I'm teaching Yahoo at Yahoo too, and they only want to use VI instead of Vim. So I keep switching back and forth.
Vim or Vim?
Vim, V-I-M. Yeah. Is I wanted it to have spell correction, right? Because I don't know how to spell very good. Just automatic spell correction, right? I also wanted it to do wrapping, more dynamic wrapping of where the paragraphs and the sentences end. You know, because sometimes as you're deleting, so let's say you're going in and you're taking a file and you're editing it, and that one will, say you delete a few words, that one will be super short, and the bottom line won't necessarily wrap back around up to a short line. So you have some really long lines, and then really short, and then a really long line, or something like that. I want everything to kind of be even, nice block paragraphs, right? So that's another thing. And then I also wanted a thesaurus. I want to do some keyword codes, like if there's a word I've been using it too much, and I want to just, you know, use a thesaurus, I can do a little key code and pull up a thesaurus of list of words, and I can pick one and plug in place, right? So it's kind of like a little word processor then, right? So let's see if this works. I uploaded my .vimrc file to vLinux, but I haven't tested it out on vLinux yet, so I don't know if it'll work. The other thing, well, I'll jump ahead here. The other thing I wanted to do was I wanted to be able to then change the format of whatever I type up to a different format than a text file, right? Because you're typing in VI, it's just it's a text file, which is fine. But what if I wanted to save it as a Word doc? What if I wanted to insert pictures? What if I wanted to make it a PDF? Well, there's a program that does all that, using some very simple markup language. So, anyway, so I'll show you a little bit about that, okay? And that's what I've been doing over my Christmas break. That's how I have fun, right? So, let's see if this actually works. So if I just do, what do we got? Employees.
Did you finish your group maker trick?
My group maker?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I forgot about that. I moved on to something else. So one thing you notice, there's this bar down here at the bottom, too. So it tells me what file I have open automatically. It automatically counts the words as I type, so how many words I've put in. It gives me what line I'm on and total number of lines, and then what percentage of the document I'm at. So like, that should change the percentage, I think. Maybe the percentage isn't working that well. It's supposed to be that there. And then there's these little key codes. Let's see if it'll work. Yeah. So all I did was hit F5 and spell check went on. Then I can hit F5 again, and see at the bottom, spell check off, and I had that notification come on and off. Then if I wanted like the thesaurus and these other things, you can create your little code, and what did I call it? I called it wrap. I'll have to maybe look, let's see, hard. Nope, sorry, let me go look at my file. So if you look at a few things here, I have the text wrap at 80, syntax on, because the thing is I wanted to use Vim also for making bash scripts and things like that too. So I wanted to kind of turn on and off, like spell check would be really annoying when you're scripting, right? Because nothing is spelled right, right? According to an English dictionary or something like that. So that's why I kind of have the spelling turned on and off and toggle like that. And then what I did was I created a status bar. That's that there, set last status, number 2. So that's the green bar here at the bottom. And this is a little function that actually does the word count for you. And then this, that's still kind of the word count. Then right here is the configuration of your status bar. So I want it to be green, you know, that's basically what it's saying. I want the text to be black, the background, things like that. And then these are the things that I have in the status bar. So there's the color setting. This actually puts this line here, puts the name of the file in it. If it gets modified, the file type, yeah, there's the word count, the lines. Now here is a little function, so this is how I do, so that's the status bar, right? This next part is a function that turns on and off the spelling, right? And it's really not too complex. So it's just an if-else function that you type. So if you go, it's a function, and then I'm giving it a name here. I want spelling to be on, and if it's spelling, then I want it to say spelling check on, right? And if it's off, then spelling check off, right? And then that's it.
There's a key line there.
Right there.
There you go.
Yep. So, but then I'm the key bind. So how do I tie it back to F5? So right here, you map F5, and I'm calling this function. That's what I named the function. And then that's how I toggle it on with F5. And then here's kind of the word processing mode and some of the things. I put some comments in there as to what it is, how to put a thesaurus in there. And I forgot how to turn this on and off because I think I set it to F6. Anyway, this does some of the hard paragraph wrapping and everything else. That's what some of these are and everything else. I can share this with you if you guys really want it. And then all you do is so right there. So I was trying to actually type it. It used to be a command. This is how you would create a command, COM exclamation point. And that's so when you do colon and type something, then it executes it, right? But I thought just hitting an F key would be easier. So I mapped it to F6. And that's what I was forgetting. That it goes into word processing mode, and then that does the hard paragraph wrap. Oh, it's the hard paragraph wrap there. It's the HPW command. Because sometimes I don't want that either, so I did that separately. Anyway, so let me close this. And then if I do F6, there it goes. So what it then does is it adds, because usually when you're in a word processor, your words aren't right up against the left side of the, right? You have your margin. So I created a margin, right? And then you start typing, and then when I'm in word processing mode 2, it automatically turns on the spell check. I just put that in the function for it. Okay? And then I forget how you access the thesaurus. I think it's like Control-C, Control-T. I have to look at it. I haven't played with it for a while. But anyway, that's what I did over my Christmas holiday. Yeah?
So, I don't know if I missed something in your configuration file, but where are you pulling the information for the spell check and the thesaurus?
So there's dependency programs because there's several spell checks that you can install for the command line. One's called iSpell, another one's called aSpell, and things like that. So it just pulls from that resource. Yeah, and basically that's tied into a file, right? And same thing with the thesaurus. I had to download the Merriam-Webster thesaurus in text format, put that into a folder, and then point to it. So let me see. I think I show where I point it to, so it's, let me scroll down here. Right there. So right here, you set thesaurus, plus, and then that's the path to the text file where the thesaurus is. And I think I put up here how you access, yeah, so it's Control-X, Control-T, once you get on it. So, anyway. That's what I did. I pimped out my Vim. Like I said, if you guys ever want to use that, I can share the file with you or whatever else. You just save the bashrc file, and then there's also a .vim file that you save as well, because obviously that's where this is, and things like that. So anyway, that's what I do when I'm bored. Okay? So I didn't create all of this from scratch. I copied the code from somebody else, and then I heavily modified it for my own use. You know, customized the F keys and all that kind of other stuff. So, so anyway, so it wasn't all me, but that's the spirit of Linux, right? You're sharing code, building off what other people have built, and customize it to yourself, right? And that's the reason I like Linux, and why I enjoy using Linux all the time. So, all right, but let's actually talk about some course stuff here, like the syllabus, right? How many times have you guys gone through a syllabus today?
Once.
Only once?
Yep.
All right. So not three? Well, everything's pretty much the same. A few things have changed. I'll kind of explain how this course is. This course, if you notice the textbook, and this is a lot of work. It's cheap, right? It is huge. We're not going to cover it all, but it's also cheap, right?
Yes.
Isn't it cheaper than your other? I don't know. Some people have said it is. So, yeah, I tried to find a cheaper book. However, this is not a textbook. This is the problem with it, right? So if you go to the end of the chapter, are there any questions? Any section reviews? Nope. So, guess what? I have to create all the material. That's a lot of extra work for me for this class. Okay? So I'm putting out a lot of extra work for this class. Because I don't get like all the questions, I don't get all the quizzes. Everything is made up 100% scratch by me, which is a lot of work. Okay? Just to save you guys some money, right? So anyway, this is actually one of the better books. There are tons and tons of books for the class you had last semester on Linux, but not very many for Linux administration that were any good, I think. And this was probably the best one, so that's another reason. It's the only decent one. I was trying to find a good book for you as well. So this is the book. It's in the syllabus. If you haven't already got it, you're going to be using it a lot. There still will be quizzes for every chapter. And how many questions for the quiz will depend how much time I have. So you might get 3 questions if that's all the time I have. You might get 10. So anyway, hopefully everyone been able to get the book, to find it. It should be really available. If you can't find it at the bookstore, I mean, it should be on Amazon and every place else. So should be able to find that really easily. All right. So I'm going to open this up. So one thing, before we get started, like I said, there's going to be a lot of labs that we do in this class. In vSphere, some of you guys might get frustrated. Might be hard. Might be not be able to follow the instructions. Go, man, Jared's instructions suck, which may be true. But you know what? I was thinking about this over the holiday too, and yet that's kind of the way work is in the real work field, right? You get crappy instructions. Your boss doesn't communicate well, or you get these outdated instructions from the previous guy who didn't update them. You go online, and those instructions might be wrong, or only give you a piece of what you're looking for, or you get technical issues. Things crash, things don't work as you're expected, and you have to work around them. Because if you're getting an absolute perfect guide, and all you do is you go in and you type through the perfect guide, then they can hire monkeys to do that. Right? And then they don't really need you, or they can automate it. The real way you earn your job, the real way you earn your money, is solving problems when they arise.
All I'm hearing is you didn't want to write the directions out. You're going to make yourself through it.
Look at the PDFs. One is 15 pages long of an instruction guide I had to type out for you guys. I'm just saying I'm not perfect and I make mistakes. But that's a lot of reason why we started changing the labs and everything else last semester as well. Is you need to find out how to research some of this stuff and figure it out as well on your own. And if you can't, I'm here to help you. You know, and there's other resources as well. So it's not like I'm just leaving you alone, helpless, kind of floating in the middle of the ocean. I'm here to help you as well, okay? So so that you can get the skills and the knowledge and experience to be able to survive out there in your job, okay? Particularly in an IT job. You're always going to come up with problems that no one else has come across before, and you all of a sudden have to figure it out, you know? So it's good training. So my mistakes help you, right? Right? With your job. So anyway, be aware of that. All right, here's my new office hours. I don't know if that'll stay. That's a lot of office hours. That may change, depending on what meetings I get on Friday and everything else, and when we do the practicum and everything else. I am teaching 2 courses of this, so this is online for your online buddies. Hopefully this conversation is recorded, and I'll just save this for them online. Right? So, hey, Mark, how are you? Oh, Mark gets it.
Will we be able to watch this online again?
Yeah, I'll put these on this course as well, and everything else. So, yeah. All right. So, I mean, that's the whole purpose of why we got all this new fun equipment and everything else. All right. What else do we need to talk about? Expectations. All right. This is good. So, expectation. Hopefully, you know how to use a computer.
What?
This, guys. Basic understanding of computer hardware, and then basic Linux essential commands. So everyone should have passed the you guys who survived the operating systems class. This is what's left, right?
This is the cream of the crop.
That's it. So I am going to test you. So we are going to have a non-graded command line test next week once we get the lab set up. We're going to see where everyone's at. And those who are struggling a little bit or just need more refresher, go into a boot camp or something for a little bit. All right?
Today, by surprise.
I thought about it. But I really want to get this lab just up and running because this lab in vSphere was like a pain. Okay? Went through a lot of pain to get this going for you guys. So, We'll do it next week. Once we get the networking stuff, which might be a pain for you guys too, particularly. How many of you guys taking another networking class? Anyone in the CCNA one? Okay. So a lot of you guys, right?
Can you say it again?
CCNA. So you guys are starting to learn some of that. CCNA 1, is that what most of you guys are taking? All right. That's where you start learning the basic networking stuff, right? The OS, you didn't talk about the OSI model yet? Oh, that's fun. Yeah, you guys will have fun, but you'll see hopefully the implementation of that class to this class as well as the Windows class that you're taking. Okay? That's why they have you take all those at the same time. They all interrelate. Okay? So anyway, that's what that condition is. It expected that you passed operating systems class and you know some of the basic commands. Now maybe you guys didn't take an order. Maybe there's a few of you who it's been 2 or 3 semesters since you've taken operating systems or Linux or whatever else. That's okay. That's why we do the boot camp. Whatever. Okay? All right. Again, I got slammed last semester with everyone just sitting in all the late assignments to barely pass the class. So, I don't know, I think I got to be a little stricter. I got to be a little bit more following up on that throughout the semester for that. But the official policy is I do not accept late stuff, okay? That way it's always at my discretion, right? If I want to do it. So be aware of that. That is the official policy, okay? Let's see here, participation. All right. So I'm going to attempt doing some more. We're going to have a lot of labs. And you are going to be either partnered up or put in a group or something like that to work out. That might be random sometimes. You might be able to pick those groups sometimes. But I want more accountability within those groups. Okay? And I know that there's that one person nobody ever wants to be buddied up with. And if you don't know who that is, it's probably you. Right? If you're like, no, who's the person? I don't know who that is. Well, it's you. No, I don't know. And I understand that. That's why we try and occasionally do a random thing, mix it up. And it's good because, again, that's good for the way things work in the business world one time. My last responsibility when I was a systems analyst at JCPenney is about 10 minutes before they announced it to the company, my boss came to me and said, hey, in 10 minutes they're going to announce that you're the lead for this project where they're implementing a new Oracle financial system for all the sales audit to all 1,100 stores. And I go, okay. And she goes, oh, there's the email telling everybody. And I go, all right. And these are the people you're working with. That's the way it works. You get thrown in. Those have been in the military. It's just like, you go there, you're with them, man. You're on what? You didn't get a choice, man. You just do it. And whoever you get stuck with, the guy that sleeps on the watch or whatever, that's who you got stuck with. You know? So, and that's, again, you got to be able to work through those challenges. Okay? You know, and I just know some people click better and work better with each other and things like that. Some people have different strengths and I have a lot of weaknesses too, and sometimes those clash with other people and things like that. But you know, you're going to be training in these things as groups, and so you got to make sure your buddy is on board and up to date as well, and you finish it together, okay? Because it's a team thing, okay? All right, communication again. I want to talk about this. So I have Google Hangouts available. A few of you guys use it to message me. I usually get that on my phone. I get it on my computer pop up. Sometimes you guys will see my wife messaging me on it here in class, right? But is that the most useful for you guys? So I want to kind of open that up. What do you guys use to message? I'm willing to do Facebook Messenger, Snapchat, whatever. What?
Don't open that.
Don't want Snapchat?
Just don't even on it.
Well, I'm not doing it for the I'm not doing the picture. It's just the chatting. All right. I don't know. What you guys use?
What about email?
Email works. No. Well, I've always included email. I'm just trying to accommodate what you already have because it seems like not everybody's using Hangouts like I do. I use it strictly for messaging too.
I'm sure everyone's got a Facebook.
If you have Facebook, I'd open up a second I'm not on Facebook that much. But I'll open up a second Facebook one that's just specifically for school here. And if you guys use Facebook Messenger, is that what a lot of people use on your phone? No? How many people use Facebook Messenger? Just give me some type of census. So 4 or 5 of you? What do you got? You guys just use straight text messaging? Messaging, that's it? All right. I can see Hangouts does straight text messaging, but I'd have to give you my cell phone number. And that's not going to happen. so you have to do it through the app, through my email. Okay? I actually have a drug dealer phone at home. Burner phone. Yeah, so.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah, so it was $10 and it's an Android smartphone. It's really good. I saw a quad-core processor. Everything else, it's running the latest Android Lollipop. It's $10. Yeah, it's really nice. That's your track phone though. But yeah, anyway, it's unopened. But all right, we'll just use Hangouts, email, and maybe I'll do a Facebook thing. And then you got those who are on Facebook. I already have Facebook Messenger on, so it's just an easy type of transition for me to do that. And then you guys can text me and send me whatever questions, messages that way if it's short. If it needs a long explanation, yeah, do email or come by and see me or something like that. So, all right, good. What else? I slightly changed the weight. You guys all know how the weight works, right? Some things are weighted heavier. 60% of your grade is homework and labs. Okay? And labs are done only in class when you show up. And homeworks are done outside of class and are due on a particular time, right? The number one reason I see students fail by far, and it's pretty much the only reason I see students fail, is they don't show up to class and they don't do homework. That brings their grade down. Right? If you don't do any homework, bam, you're starting out at 70%. Right? Because 30% of your grade's gone. The highest you can get if you don't do any homework is 70%. Then, that's if you get perfect on all the exams, the final, and the midterm. Right? So homework is important, guys. Showing up to class and doing the labs are important. Many of these labs are really tough to do outside the class. Sorry for the online guys. I try and help them out as much as possible. But then it's also hard to get caught up, too, if you miss a class and try and do it that designated time to be able to reserve this room or things like that for those who are face-to-face. Okay? So just be aware of that. That's heavily graded. Okay? Quizzes, I do 20%, and the midterms and finals. I've had people who have either got D's or F's on the midterm and the final and still pass the class. Okay? So you're not heavily graded on those finals and exams. Okay? It's all about your consistency, right? Okay. And then I try to really look through this book and I try to make it interesting because the first few chapters just build and are foundational stuff and it's boring, right? So what I wanted to try and do was get some of the foundational stuff and then actually test it out and do it. So that's why there's a lot of jumping between chapters. Okay? Just so you guys are like, well, last week we were on chapter 2 and now we're on chapter 25. You know, why the reason is for that. So it's a lot for this. So some of the things that we'll do, but we'll do some really, really cool stuff. Linux, and I'll talk more about this in the Windows class, is Linux is what runs the internet. So a lot of the stuff is the outside of the world, the cloud type of stuff, right? Windows runs internal networks. Active Directory, that's specifically what it's designed to do, okay? And so we'll do some really awesome stuff here. So we'll do SSH, some port forwarding, if you guys want to do, like set up the SSH server. You can't just go into console and type SSH in this and it connect automatically. How were you able to connect to vLinux last semester? Well, you didn't do all the whole setup part to be able to connect. That's what we're going to do, and that's going to be one of the first things we'll do. FTP, which is, if anyone here in web design, I think most of you guys are, I guess if you're in this class, you're in networking. But FTP transfers files from one machine to another. Web design people use it a lot to upload their HTML files to websites, things like that. And Apache is an actual web server. So by week 3, Apache, like the Indian. Apache is a web server, so you'll actually, by week 3, have a working web server that you can put a web page on and be able to access. Use FTP to transfer those files over, or SSH into it to be able to control it. Manage it. All by the 3rd week. That's kind of cool, right? Then we get into more base stuff, like networking stuff. So hopefully it's review stuff that you're covering in your CCNA 1 about how TCP/IP works, networking configuration. And then some more stuff about how to boot and manage software. Then we get into file systems and firewalls. So how to open up firewalls, how to configure firewalls, how to mount a remote drive, right? So that you're on your computer here, but you want to save that file as a remote drive there, right? So like when you're in Windows, you can have a whatever letter drive, and that's really a drive that's over in the server over there. Or on Linux, you'd have a folder. There'd just be a folder called whatever work stuff, and that's really the server all the way over here. So anything you just save in that folder automatically, boom, is over here in that server. Yeah, that's what that is. Some more networking stuff. Samba allows you to be able to transfer files and work through networking protocols to Windows machines. So now you can start interacting Linux machines and Windows machines together. Samba, like the dance. Going to set up some email servers. You can have your own email address that you can set up. We're going to review managing users and groups. Going to set up a database, MySQL database. Then we're going to do DNS, LDAP. Now this starts to get into LDAP is some of the stuff that you do in Windows. Windows and Linux can do the same thing, right? Windows came up with some nice little dashboards and control tools to help manage Active Directories. And but you can do the same thing in Linux. They just don't have all those fancy, these nice little tools or whatever else, right? But you can do it through LDAP. And Linux or Windows actually uses LDAP too, but they have this GUI configuration and everything else. Okay, so we'll touch on that a little bit. Then we do have some of the computer defense class competition that comes up later this semester. So we'll talk about the security stuff. Will be covered here as well. And then will probably be a project for you guys to do. Because once you're done with this class, you can do anything with Linux, pretty much. Or at least figure it out. Okay? So, anyway, important dates. All right. Now, that being said, we do labs, do homework, work together. Right? I encourage that. Big part is taking those tests. Okay? Right? Because that's how I evaluate what you actually really know. Right? The labs, the homework, that's for you guys to practice so you get good, so you can take the test and everything else, right? So that you're learning the knowledge, right? And you don't just learn the knowledge reading from the book. You interact with each other, everything else, and things like that, okay? So that's that. And then everything else, we'll just skip. Well, you just read. I'm not skipping it. You're still required to know it, right? But it's all the mandated school stuff that I have to put in there. Okay? All right. Now, should we actually talk a little bit about Linux? Right? Okay. How are we doing? Man, this class goes to almost 5, guys. I mean, that's rough. I didn't schedule. I don't know. I agree, man. It's a late class. And I don't have any class before this. Yeah. So, guys, you can come and visit me, man, because I'm just like in that office the whole time, man. All right. So, some review stuff. Chapter 1 of your book reviews a lot of things. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about that. Is this even my notes? What is this? I'm really confused with what I'm even looking at.
Yeah, this is great.
All right. So, first off, Linux. You guys have already taken a Linux class, so you guys should have no problems telling me exactly what Linux is.
The kernel operating.
It's in an operating system, but it's actually a kernel. Like Linux itself is a kernel, right? And so what's a kernel?
It's
Spelled with a K.
bridges between the hardware and the software.
That's it. It allows the operating system to interact with the hardware, right? So that you can access the PCU. Oh, it is late. CPU, the RAM, all the drives that you need to access, and everything else, right? And the operating system allows you, the user, to interact with the kernel, which then interacts with the hardware, stuff like that, right? But Linus Torvalds, what he created was only the kernel. And the kernel in and of itself, for a user, isn't too interesting, or too, you don't do much with it, right? Unless you have some drivers or something else to do with it. So it's all the outside stuff that's on there, right? The graphical interface, the shells that you're used to typing into, that's all the outside stuff that you use to interact with it. Okay? So what is the difference between a distribution, what is a Linux distribution then? Because we talk about Linux distributions.
It's a packaging of productivity suites that are built on top of the Linux kernel.
There you go. Yeah. So when you go to distrowatch.com, that had my bookmark right there. These are all different Linux distributions. What they do is they take the kernel, they take all the other stuff, the kernel's secret spices and recipes, mixes them together and made some nice fried chicken, right? Known as Linux distributions, right? But each person designs them differently, right? And customizes them so that you have more than one option, okay? Tomorrow's class, in Windows class, you'll look at the options Windows gives you. They're almost the same, right? Except this one will limit you more, and this one will limit you a little less, and this one, for a lot of money, will give you everything, right? But with Linux, it's customized. There's security featured ones. There's ones that are specifically built to be able to hack a network for purposes to evaluate how good that network is. There's ones for web design. There's ones just for desktop use. There's one for audio and visual mixing and editing and things like that. There's ones that run on your phone, right? And that's what a distribution is. It's the way they package it and customize it so that you pick the one that works best for you. Okay? So the two that we're going to use are probably the two most popular server distributions that are out there. Linux Mint, that we've used in class before, is a desktop. That's what it's designed for. Can you run a server on Linux Mint? Or use Linux Mint as a server? Yeah, of course you can. He just didn't design it and build it that. All the Linux software is available for all these Linux distributions, right? But the guy who created Linux Mint, he wanted it to be nice and user-friendly and very comfortable for a new user and do desktop stuff. Browse your Facebook, right? And that's what it's built to do. But the two server ones, the number one Linux server is Red Hat Linux.
What is it?
Red Hat. And They're a company. They're the largest Linux company that's out there. They're a $1 billion company. And they produce a version of Linux called Red Hat Enterprise Linux. And you do have to purchase it. You can download the source code for free and compile it and do everything yourself. What you're paying for is the support. That's what they're charging you for. Okay? So you can call them up if something happens and get some help. Right? And they make a lot of money with it, and that's what most companies use who are heavy Linux companies. Okay? So we're going to use CentOS, which is a nonprofit organization that takes that Red Hat Enterprise Linux, strips out all the logos and the trademarks that's Red Hat, right? That's you can't really take because they don't own that stuff. And they repackage it and they give you CentOS. So CentOS is identical to this $6,000-$7,000 Red Hat Enterprise Linux, except the branding is different. You don't get the Red Hat logo and brand, you get the CentOS, which doesn't look as nice, brand and logo. But it's the same thing. So we're using CentOS. You just don't get the support. Now, actually, the nonprofit CentOS does offer some support, and it's cheaper than Red Hat Enterprise Linux. Yeah, I don't know. Decide which one you want. But you know, Red Hat will also, if you do have CentOS installed and you come up with the problem and the CentOS organization can't help you out, they will convert your CentOS over to a Red Hat Enterprise Linux for you. And then they'll support you once you pay the money up, right? They'll support you. So that's what CentOS is and what we're using CentOS for. The other one is Ubuntu Server. Yeah, all right, number 3. Ubuntu Server is a very popular desktop. Linux Mint is built off Ubuntu, and it's based off it. And the server is probably the second most popular server that's out, besides, maybe it's the third, behind CentOS or something like that, if you count CentOS differently than Red Hat. But it has a different packaging system, okay? And so we're going to be using both, and you usually need 2 servers anyways to interact with each other so that you can do testing and things like that as well to make sure things work. So those are the 2 different distributions that we're going to be using. And configuring. So let me see what else I want to talk about. Oh yeah. So open source. What is open source?
Software open to the world.
Open how?
Open as in anybody can download it and edit it how they please.
Yes. They can edit it and view the code. Yeah. That's the core of open source. That the code is open. Okay? Can you think of any type of project or program that's out there besides Linux that is open source? Anyone think of anything? Let me take you on. Who many of you guys have heard of? Mozilla Foundation. If you use the Mozilla browser, that is an open source browser. It's a nonprofit organization, Firefox, and it's an open source project that you use. You should know. Now, there's a bunch of desktop stuff that uses, but the server applications that maybe you haven't heard a lot of these applications are really what dominates the internet and how it's used. Okay, for instance, here's another one from Oracle. Well, Oracle acquired it. Went over here to MySQL. Yeah, we're going to be installing the MySQL database. Anyone here taking database and SQL? Ooh. In that class, you don't learn how to install it and set it up. In this class, we do. You learn how to use it and how to query it. But now you'll be able to install it too. And so you can install it at home and then query it and use it if you want to. It's designed by Oracle. A few small companies that you probably never heard of use it, such as Google for their search. Facebook is built off it. Twitter, Amazon, all use it as their database. So it's used a little bit. Another one is Apache, which you may or may not have heard of. This is the web server. Last I saw is something around 80% of the websites are running off Apache that you access on the internet. So most likely you've interacted with Apache. All it does is it serves web pages. That's where you put your HTML files, and then when you try and look up that web page, Apache turns on and shows you your web page. Right? So that is an open source tool that's out there. If you want to look at some like desktop tools, if you've heard of OpenOffice, right? Have you guys heard of that? No? LibreOffice. Yeah, I prefer LibreOffice. Libre, L-I-B-R-E, Office. Yep. So those are a few open source tools that are out there. That's just a short list. There's tons and tons of other stuff that are out there. All right. What is the GPL? Is there not the GPL is? How about how is Linux licensed? The license Linux uses, at least the kernel part of it, uses the GPL version 2. You know, you install Microsoft or some other programs or something else, you get this little box that pops up, your user agreement, and you say, yes, 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 my firstborn son, whatever, click, just get me my program next, right? That's some of the licensing agreement that you agree to install that software. So Linux doesn't just mean like, you can do whatever you want. There's some requirements to it, okay? And that's negotiated through what's called the GPL, General Public License, is how it's licensed. Okay? That was created by Richard Stallman, this crazy guy, who developed 4 software freedoms that are outlined in this license, basically. Does anyone remember what some of these freedoms are? This is like week 1 last August. Right.
Freedom to change the source code so long as you documented the changes.
Yes. See, and that's one of the restrictions, right? So you can change the source code, the programming code, but you have to document that you changed it and what you changed. You can't just change it and just go, la, da, 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 it was him, right? I changed it. Yeah.
Is one of them the right to sell your software?
Not to sell. That's not one of the freedoms to sell. But you can sell it if you want to. But that's not the freedom. Yeah. So one is to be able to modify it. Can anyone remember another one? Redistribution. Yes, that's where you can sell it if you want to. So you can hand it out to anybody you want for free, or you can sell it. Right? To help out your neighbor, right? Do you guys remember any other one? The first one, you guys missed the first one is that you should be able to use the software any way you want. If you buy a toaster and you don't want to toast bread with it, I guess you toast bread, right? Not toast. Toast bread with it, you don't have to. If you want to build it into a laser gun, you should be able to do that, right? Or when you buy that toaster, are you given some agreement here, you will not turn this into a laser gun? Yeah, I promise. Check, sign, and initial. Well, that's what you do with software, proprietary software that you usually install. I will only use it on this, and I will only put it on this computer, and I will only use it this way. Right? So that's freedom number 1. Use it however you want. If that's not the way it was supposed to be, who cares? As long as it's serving your purpose. Right? Use it the way you want it. So that's the other freedom. And then which one are we missing here? You're allowed to, this is kind of like redistribution, and that's maybe where I get mixed up, is you're allowed to improve it, and then, how do they put it? Release it to the public, basically. So you're able to put your programming code and then release that to the public too. Okay? Now they did come out with a version 3 of the GPL, which the Linux kernel is not under, which is a bit more restrictive. They say any programming code you write, you have to release that under the GPL as well, which some people don't like, because there are other software licenses that are out there, such as BSD. Companies really like BSD, and let me tell you one company that really likes BSD license is Apple. Okay? Because the BSD license isn't as restrictive as the GPL. You go, well, it can be less restrictive and more liberal than copying the software, sending out to everybody and changing it, right? Well, with the BSD licenses, any programming code you put into it, you can keep completely secret and hide, right? And that's exactly how we got OS X, right? OS X has the Darwin BSD kernel, and then Apple wrapped it around, or it's actually the next company that he started when he got fired from Apple. Built all this proprietary, nice, flashy stuff on the outside, and don't tell anybody what that is, right? And so a lot of companies use BSD because then they don't have to share their programming code. With the GPL, you have to share that programming code so that other people can change and modify it for their benefit, right? So there are a lot of different licenses that are out there that don't follow that same philosophy. All right. So what are some disadvantages to Linux? I'm always pumping it up. I'm always telling you how great it is. What are some problems that maybe some people find with Linux? Yeah.
A lot of freedom means that you really have to know what you're doing to.
Yeah. I think that's very valid. Too much freedom, right? You got a lot of choice, right? I personally like a lot of choice. Some people freak out like, well, you can do it this way, or 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 you can do it this way. And they're just like, just do it, okay, right? Pick a way and do it. Yeah, so that's definitely an option. What else? I heard someone else kind of mention.
It's not compatible with most things Windows are. Most things are built with Windows in mind, not Linux. So it's not compatible with certain hardware, things like that.
Yes. Yes and no, I'd say. Depending on whether you're talking desktop or server. But yes. But I would also argue neither's Mac or neither any other operating system, which isn't Microsoft, right? And Microsoft doesn't want you to use their stuff, right? But yeah, there are some hardware differences, particularly on the desktop side, where you just have to be careful what you buy. Same thing if you have a Mac. You have to buy something that's compatible with Mac, right? I know not all wireless cards work, or it's a pain to get a wireless card working in Linux sometimes. 80% of them work perfectly fine, right? So pick one of those 80%. That's what I do. And then you just know it works without a problem. Things like that. Yeah, so there is some things on design. Now on the server side, I don't know of too many issues, hardware side. These things can run Linux like crazy, yeah, and Windows servers. So yeah, but if you're looking desktop stuff, yeah, that could be a problem. Any other disadvantages that someone was kind of mentioning? I heard. What's that? Not user-friendly, yeah. I think that's a myth, but some people see it as that. Like when you use Linux Mint, is that not user-friendly? If you know how to click on a menu down at the bottom, or click on, and all you use is for Facebook or word processing. To me, I think that's it, but I don't know, I've been using Linux for 16 years, and I might just, but whatever. Jaded, yeah. Takes a while for the updates to come out?
Yeah, the new
Like the new version of Linux?
Right.
Yeah, in some cases that is the case if you're talking about versions of Linux to come out. Now updates come out a lot quicker than Windows though. Like system update, the little pop-ups that come up, right? Those come out every single day. As soon as someone fixes it, boom, it's out. Microsoft waits a particular Tuesday once a month for that to receive, so you can go a whole month and you can with a broken system until they fix it on that special Tuesday, right? Yeah, so big security thing. But there are Linux distributions such as Debian, which is out there, Debian, D-E-B-I-A-N, which they want to make sure that system is very secure, very stable, and there's no bugs in it. So they wait a long time. They release a new version of Debian Linux every 3 to 5 years. Right? Because they want it to be very vetted. And usually the software is 3 to 5 years old. Because, you know, behind. But they want it to just be solid. Right? Now, going back to the hardness. Now, command line stuff, yeah, there's a learning curve. Particularly with the command line stuff. For sure. But as you guys will see in Windows administration, there's a lot of command line in Windows too, particularly now that they're pushing PowerShell. So, sorry, my throat's getting really dry. I should probably be quiet and just do something else, which we'll do here in a second. Yeah, so that is the case. There is this learning curve, particularly on the command line. Command line is a learning curve. So, yeah. So good. Anything else that anyone else thought of? No? Okay. One other thing that I could think of is on the stability one, waiting too long for something. There are certain versions of Linux that are very cutting edge. They give you the latest and greatest ones, such as Fedora. Fedora Linux is known for that. They're the testing bed for Red Hat Linux. And you install that, you get the latest and greatest version of every single program and application that's out there. But what's the problem with that? Lots and lots of bugs, right? Yeah, but you get the best stuff, right? The earliest, newest features, right? You're driving that sports car, right? Except it breaks down every block, or something like that, right? So, but I've kind of progressed up. It's not a user-friendly version of Linux, but I've made that my main desktop version. So I run it on my laptop and my computer. I would never run it at Forest Server, just because of all the bugs, and I just don't want to be dealing with that. So, all right, I'm going to be quiet now, and you guys can do the lab that's on Rock. Right here, look at that. So, and I actually gave you the answers to some of these. List and explain at least 3 advantages to open source software. Use complete sentences. Oh, that's something else I want to talk about. Yeah, you guys are in college now. So I expect you to write in sentences. Okay? So use complete sentences, okay? I don't want to say like 3 advantages. It's fast. Good. You know, or whatever else. Like, whatever you're going to put there. Okay? Then I want you to list and compare 6 differences between Windows and Linux. Look in Chapter 1. They're all right there. Okay? You can also go online if you want to kind of break the mold and don't like your book or don't have your book. You can find those too. Now I want you to compare. Tell me what those differences are. Don't just list. Don't just do the list part. Do the compare part too. Okay? Windows has a registry. Well, what's that compared to in Linux? So go ahead and work on that. Let's see here. Hey guys, we still have like tons of time. It's going to be awesome. I'll give you guys about, I don't know, what, 15 minutes. You guys can do this? I'll check back with you in 15 minutes. How about that? All right? All right. So go ahead, do that. Just type it up in Word or LibreOffice or whatever you want to type it up in, Vim, and then submit it. And then we'll review it here in class, okay? And I'm going to turn off this microphone because I'm kind of getting tired of my own voice. I can't imagine how tired you guys are getting of it. So.